Hello guys, and in the last video we have seen already call by value, call by reference parameter passing mechanisms in C, C++ and Java. Call by value and call by reference are possible in the case of C and C++, but call by value only possible in the case of Java. Already we have seen that point. Now in this video we are going to see the difference between Java and other. The last difference in between Java and other is which one? In the C and C++, integers will take 2 bytes of memory and characters will take 1 byte of memory. In the C and C++, integers will take 2 bytes of memory and characters will take 1 byte of memory. But in Java, integers will take 4 bytes of memory and characters will take 2 bytes of memory. This is the difference here. Memory allocation for the primitive data types is different in C, C++ and in Java. But what exactly the difference here? Okay guys, now regarding this particular point, memory allocation for primitive data types in programming languages, if you observe this, one point is very clear. In C and C++, memory allocation for the primitive data types, in C and C++, memory allocation for the primitive data types is not fixed. It is a variable. Understand it. In C and C++, memory allocation for primitive data types. Again, primitive data types are which one? Byte, short, int, long, float, double, boolean, character. For all these primitive data types, memory allocation is not fixed. That is variable. And moreover, it is depending on the operating system which we used. It is depending on the operating system which we use. It is not fixed. It is dependent on the operating system. Understand it here. Even in this direction also we can conclude C and C++ are platform dependent programming languages. In this context also we are able to conclude C and C++ are which one? Platform dependent programming languages. Understand guys what I am telling there. In C and C++, memory allocation for the primitive data types is not fixed. It is variable. It is depending on the operating system which we used. But if we come for this Java, in Java, memory allocation for the primitive data types is fixed, irrespective of the operating system which we used. In case of Java, memory allocation for primitive data types is fixed, irrespective of the operating system which we use. Good. Even in this direction also we can conclude Java is not depending on any of the operating system regarding this memory allocation, but C and C++ are depending on the operating system for memory allocation. So Java is not dependent on the operating system. So Java is platform independent. Even in this direction also we are able to conclude. Okay, good. This is the point here we can understand. But what exactly the memory allocation for primitive data types in the case of Java? They are fixed memory allocation, that's fine. But what exactly the memory allocations for the primitive data types in the case of Java? If you come for this point, so for byte data type, 1 byte memory. For byte data type, 1 byte memory. Okay, next one is for short, like here, 2 bytes of memory. And for int, 4 bytes of memory, this is fixed. Next one is for long data type, 8 bytes of memory, and for float data type again 4 bytes of memory, and for double data type again here 8 bytes of memory, and for like what next one here, for character data type 2 bytes of memory, and then after that for boolean 1 bit, for boolean 1 bit. Like this, these are the fixed memory allocations for the data types, primitive data types in the case of Java. But this is not fixed. In the case of C and C++, that is variable. That is depending on the operating system memory allocations. Understand it. In case of Java, memory allocations for the primitive data types is fixed. What exactly fixed memory allocations? byte 1 byte, short 2 bytes, int 4 bytes, long 8 bytes, float 4 bytes, double 8 bytes, char 2 bytes, and boolean 1 byte. These are the fixed memory allocations here we can understand. Then, if we give this much of answer to that interviewer about this particular question, interviewer may ask a question now. Interviewer may ask a question now. What about this question here? In the C and C++ applications, or in C and C++, characters are able to take only 1 byte of memory. In C and C++, characters are able to take only 1 byte of memory. Then, what is the requirement? Then what is the requirement for Java to assign 2 bytes of memory for characters? This is a question here we are able to get. In C and C++, characters are able to take only 1 byte of memory, but then what is the requirement for Java to assign 2 bytes of memory for characters? So why 2 bytes of memory is required for characters in the case of Java, and why only 1 byte of memory is sufficient for characters in the case of C and C++? For this question, answer is very clear. Try to recognize this. Maximum in C and C++, all characters are represented in the form of ASCII values. In C and C++, all the characters are represented in the form of ASCII values. To represent these ASCII values, how much memory is required here? 1 byte of memory is sufficient. To represent any ASCII value, just 1 byte of memory is sufficient, not required to go for more than 1 byte of memory. But in case of Java, all characters are represented in the form of Unicode representations. In the form of Unicode representations, all the characters are represented. Unicode representation is able to take 2 bytes of memory. To represent any Unicode value, 2 bytes of memory is required. So because of this reason, in C and C++, 1 byte of memory is sufficient for representing characters, but in the case of Java, 2 bytes of memory is required for representing characters. This is what exactly the answer here we have to understand. Then again here we are having one more question now in this case. So what is Unicode and what is its requirement in Unicode? What is its requirement in Java? This is another simple question here. What is Unicode and what is its requirement in Java? Answer is very clear. Try to recognize this. Alright, sir. Unicode representation is one of the character representation. That's fine. What is its capability? What it able to do? It able to represent all the alphabets from all the natural languages. What are these natural languages? No, like which one here? English, maybe Hindi, or maybe and so on and so on. Some local languages also, no problem. Italian and Chinese and so on and so on. All these languages there. From all these languages, alphabets are available. That alphabets are represented in the form of which one? Unicode representation. Unicode representation is one of the character representation. It able to represent all the alphabet from all the natural languages. So that is its capability. Okay. What is the advantage of representing all the alphabet from all the natural languages? No. Are you able to get any advantage by representing like this? Yes. It able to provide with this representation, it able to provide very good internationalization support in Java applications. Java is very good in the context of internationalization. So by representing all the alphabet from all the natural languages in the form of Unicode, Unicode representation is providing very good internationalization support. This internationalization support is nothing but, okay, in short we are able to call it as which one there? I18N. So this internationalization support is very good. But what is the meaning of this internationalization actually? What is the meaning of this internationalization? It's very clear. Designing Java application as per local. Designing Java applications as per local is called as internationalization. Right, sir. Designing Java applications as per local, that means as per local conventions. As per local conventions is called as which one? Internationalization. That internationalization topic again we are going to discuss there in the future. We have a separate topic like internationalization. There we are going to see all these points. But as of now here we have to understand designing Java applications as per the local conventions, that is called as which one? Internationalization. Let's say for example, few examples I am telling there. If you go for like which one here now, then Google search. If you go for the Google search, in the Google search bar, in the bottom there are some hyperlinks. Like which one? English and Hindi and Telugu, Kannada, Marathi, local languages. Maybe if you go for international, maybe Italian or Chinese, like the different hyperlinks are available. So if you click on English hyperlink, then automatically we are able to get the total and Google page in English. If I click on Telugu, for example, I'm able to get the total and page in which one? They know Telugu language. So this type of support is provided by Google. So this is called as which one? An internationalization. Next one is after that, if you are preparing any Yahoo Mail account or Gmail account, in the sign up process, there is a field like country, language and country, some fields are available. If you specify language is Chinese and country is Chinese, no, then immediately after completion of the registration page, our mail page we are able to get in Chinese language only. So what is the meaning of it now? The Gmail application is prepared, is providing very good internationalization support. So these are the examples for this internationalization. So designing Java applications as per the local conventions is called as which one? Internationalization. Right, sir. Totally what exactly the content here we understood there about this particular point, difference now. So in C and C++, integers will take 2 bytes of memory and characters will take 1 byte of memory. But in case of Java, integers will take 4 bytes of memory and characters will take 2 bytes of memory. This is the difference here. But what is the one standard point I have given about this memory allocations? No, it is C and C++ memory allocation. Memory for the primitive data types is not fixed. Memory allocation for the primitive data types is not fixed. It is variable. It is depending on the operating system which we use. But in the case of Java, memory allocation for primitive data types is fixed irrespective of the operating system which we use. Good. So what exactly the fixed memory allocations for the primitive data types in the case of Java? Byte will take 1 byte of memory, short will take 2 bytes of memory, int will take 4 bytes, long will take 8 bytes, float will take 4 bytes, double will take 8 bytes of memory, character will take 2 bytes of memory, and boolean will take 1 byte of memory. It's not 1 byte, 1 bit, that's it. Boolean will take 1 bit, okay, not byte. Then immediately we have a question now. In C and C++, characters are able to take only 1 byte of memory. Then what is the requirement for Java to assign 2 bytes of memory for characters? Your answer is very clear. In C and C++, all characters are represented in the form of ASCII values. But to store any ASCII value, 1 byte of memory is required. That's why in C and C++, 1 byte of memory will be assigned for characters. In case of Java, all characters are represented in the form of Unicodes. To represent any Unicode value, 2 bytes of memory is required. That's why in the case of Java, all characters required 2 bytes of memory minimum. Good. Then immediately we have another question there. What is Unicode and what is the requirement of Unicode? What is its requirement in Java? Good. Here we have given answer clearly. Unicode is one of the character representation. It able to represent all the alphabet from all the natural languages like English, Hindi, Italian and so on. It able to provide very good internationalization support in Java applications. What is this internationalization support here now? Designing Java applications as per local conventions is called as which one? Internationalization. Right, so this is overall differences between Java and others. Nearly 9 number of differences here we have given there. These 9 number of differences are giving clear-cut differences between Java and others. By understanding these points, now we can get the conclusion. If you want to go for Java programming language, do you need any prerequisite from C and C++? No. If by seeing all these differences, no, do you feel any prerequisites is required to go for Java programming language? No. By seeing these points, we can understand clearly Java is quite different from which one? C and C++. So in my philosophy, in my point of view, if you want to go for core Java programming language, it is not at all required to go for C, C++. Just if you know fundamentals of the computer science, that is sufficient. fundamentals of the computers is sufficient. It is not at all required to go for any C, C++, such kind of programming languages before this core Java. Just simple Java we can learn. We can start learning process for Java as like a fresher, as a first programming language. We can learn it directly. We can go for it. Why? Because core Java is nothing but fundamental. Again, for this fundamental, what is the need of other fundamentals? No, not required. Already core Java is a fundamental part, so we can start our fundamentals directly. But for this fundamental, no need to go for other fundamentals there. Everything is available inside the Java. What we are going to see, C, C++, what we require is C, C++, everything you are going to be available inside the Java. So to learn Java, it is not at all required to go for C and C++. Just directly we can start with the core Java. That's it. Thank you guys. Thanks a lot.